Hello, friends. I am Chevee. Welcome to my shed. How are you today? How's life in your world? How's things where you are? I hope it's fantastic and wonderful. Everything here is perfect. And I say perfect for a very good reason. And I'm sure that many of you have already seen this news on other social media platforms because I announced it last night. But this weekend, I asked Em to marry me, and she said yes. And it was a magical, wonderful event. Nothing crazy special, but it just kind of happened. I mean, I'm not gonna, it was obviously premeditated, but the way that it happened, it just kind of worked out. It was part of a conversation we were having, and it was the right time. And it's something that I've been planning for a while. And yesterday seemed to be a perfectly special day for a couple of reasons. Number one, yesterday was the day that we celebrated solstice with our children, and for those of you who are uninitiated, that's not dissimilar to your Christmas presents and all that sort of stuff. So it was a big day of gift giving and that sort of thing. But number two, and probably the more important reason, is because December 19th is December 19th of 2017 is the day that I met him. It's the day that she first came into my life, and so I felt like it was a perfect alignment for that ceremony. And I asked, and she said yes. And I knew she was going to say yes. I mean, we've talked about this quite a few times over the years. We've talked about it a lot lately. And we went ring shopping together. So, it wasn't a surprise to her. It was a bit of a surprise to me because I was thinking I was going to wait until the 27th, which the 27th of 2018 is the time that we first officially became boyfriend and girlfriend. She asked me if I wanted to be her boyfriend, and I said sure. Up until that point, we were just friends, and it got a lot more serious at that point. So to kind of catalog, I know that most of you have seen this news already, but this show has become my diary over the last 7 years. So I might as well leave a chapter for this, or I definitely want to leave a chapter. This is what I should say. I haven't told you a whole lot about Em, and that's for reasons. Number one, her name is not Em. That's not her name. That's just what I call her on the internet because she likes to maintain her anonymity. She likes to be private and, whatever. Number two, Em is significantly younger than me. An age gap that when I tell people, they go, "Oh, okay," it's an age gap. It's a big one. But that doesn't make her any less of a partner, any less of a woman, any less of an amazing companion. She's unbelievable in everything that she does. And she tries really hard at everything she does, and she knows a lot of things that people my age don't know. And that's all just due to her family and her upbringing. She can work on cars, no problem. She can do carpentry and welding, and I mean, she has all the skills that I have, just in a smaller, younger package. She's tiny. She's a small woman, but. Part of the reason that we've talked about this so much is because of the age gap, right? Because we had to really think long and hard about how this would affect our personal lives, our family lives, and we had to really take her family into consideration because she's the baby, and it took us a long time to come around to telling them. I just met her parents for the first time last December. It was her brother's birthday last December, so I've only known her parents for a year, even though she's been a part of my life for 4 years now. Now, that being said, 4 years ago, on December 19th, we didn't have a conversation or anything. It was just, I went to an interview for my present job, and she was there, and she asked interview questions. She was an intern at that time. She was a senior. And she graduated that spring, and we talked video games and hung out, all that sort of stuff. So, but as I told her last night, she asked me if this was if I'd planned it for the day, and I said yes and no. I knew the significance of the day. I have dates, important dates for me kind of get stuck, and then I put them in a calendar, and they, I think about them a lot. But more importantly than the date, I mean, yeah, the date is important, but I have very vivid memories of her that day and my interview asking me questions. I don't really have memories of anybody else there. I don't really even have memories of the man who became my boss asking me questions. I have memories of him, and I have memories of her asking me the questions, and I have a memory of this smile on her face that just was like that. I don't understand it, And I remember going the next day to work and talking to one of my coworkers, who became kind of a confidant over the years, and she said, "Did you see anybody there you're interested in?" And I said, "Well, there's this intern but she's way too young for me." And she said, "What does age have to do with anything?" And I was like, "I don't know." And she was like, "Is she drinking age?" And I said, "Yeah, I guess so." And she's like, "Well, then you're good." And I'm like, "I don't know. That's weird." But as it turns out, it's not weird. As it turns out, for us, it's perfectly fine. We went through a whole lot of talk about life stages. Obviously, I have kids who are old. Like, my kids are older. My oldest will be an adult next year. And that's a big deal, especially for somebody young, who, potentially wants children. And we've talked about that at length. And, we're on the same page with all of that. For someone who wants to have a healthy, fun relationship, I think that I provide that, and I think that we do really, really well together as a team. We've become really good for each other. She's changed my world in so many ways, in so many positive things have happened to me because of her, or at her insistence. Let's put it that way. I don't want to say it's because of her, because that takes away from my part of the work, doing the effort. But at her insistence, so many wonderful things have happened over the last 4 years that I can't imagine not having her around for the rest of my life. So, yeah, got engaged, and it was beautiful. And my kids love her. They're super excited. I think her family likes me. Pretty sure they do. They haven't found anything bad yet, so that I know of, at least. And I think that we're going to, continue to make each other smile. So, there is no date or anything like that. That's going to be quite a ways off. Probably not next year, maybe the year after. Don't know. We're not really in a rush. But it's a big change, and I will tell you that, because of her age, because she's younger, and I felt like it was the appropriate thing to do, I did talk to her father. I asked him if it was okay, and it felt a little bit strange talking to a man who's not that much older than me, and asking him if I could marry his daughter, but it was a good conversation, and I'm not going to tell you what he said, what his response was, but it was the correct response, and let's just say I've put a lot of thought into my first attempt at marriage versus what I want out of my future, and I think M fits perfectly, and I think that everything's going to be fine with her. Right? Everything is going to be great. And I'm really happy about that. So, there you are. That was my weekend. Tell me about yours. Did you do anything exciting? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you for being here as always. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, being amazing friends and wonderful people. I really appreciate you. And I'll see you again tomorrow. Today's word you should know to sound smart is isolationism. It is a noun meaning a foreign policy in which a country deliberately keeps its relationships and interactions with other nations to a bare minimum, effectively isolating itself from world affairs. In the earliest 20th century, American isolationism stopped the U.S. from joining the League of Nations. Isolationism. ISOLATIONISM. I've always talked about where I live here in West Virginia. We are so far isolated from the national everything that we kind of have our own persistent economy that while it's depressed, it's always constant. We don't suffer the woes of the rest of the country, but at the same time we're also kind of backwards. Isolationism is possibly a good thing, but I think in a lot of ways it's very bad.